25. This is the show devoted to St. Mary's University and its athletic programs. Dean Beckman, along with Donnie Netto, the sports information director for the Cardinals, back to talk St. Mary's athletics. And Donnie, later on in the program, will bring in Morgan Thomas. Morgan is a senior libero on the volleyball team, off to a great start, and that'll be one of the focuses of our show, Donnie, the volleyball team today. And a perfect person to bring in because Morgan was named MIAC Libero of the Week.
Yeah, how do you not talk about the volleyball team right now? They're playing so well, 21-2 overall, 5-1 in the conference. Just everything seems to be rolling for them. They had a great tournament last weekend in Aston, Pennsylvania. They played in the Newman Invitational, went 4-0 there, lost just one set. So they're playing so well right now, and we talk a lot when Coach Lester was here on the show, about the success that this program has had over the years, and to think that at 21-2, this is the best they've ever been after 23 matches. And so, our hats off certainly to the team, and it's going to be exciting to have Morgan on. She's certainly one of the reasons that they're having the success that they are. It's not easy to replace a libero like Lex Krogstad, and she was a 4-year starter, all conference, and just a phenomenal player. And yet Morgan really has stepped up and done a phenomenal job of kind of taking the reins from Lex, I guess learning from her, and really just kind of doing her thing. And I'm really happy to see the success that she's having as an individual because she's put in a lot of hard work and enjoying some of those benefits right now.
And one of the things we'll be able to talk with her about is the fact that there was some uncertainty as to just how good the volleyball team might be coming into the year. We knew they'd be good, they always are, but 21-2 is phenomenal. They're off to a terrific start, and I think that's taken a little bit of everyone by surprise. And we even talked to Coach Lester about that when he was on the program earlier.
Yeah, no question. When you lose the firepower that they did, you have to wonder what you're going to have the next year because you do have some people who need to step into different roles. And again, Morgan is one of those people. She was a defensive specialist for 3 years, kind of able to kind of hang in the shadows as somebody else led the way for the team. And yet this year, as one of 3 seniors with Maddie Hess and Molly Urban, now they have to be the leaders. And I think that's where the success starts from is from their leaders, from your leaders, and those 3 are doing a great job. And sure, you've got to give some credit to Coach Lester too. He has molded this team into a real juggernaut, and they're a lot of fun to watch. I just wish they'd be at home more often. We haven't got to see much of them because most of their matches really have been on the road.
We're getting to it. Starting on October 21st, they have 4 consecutive home matches to end the season, but you're right. They have not had many home ones at all. This past week, so let's get into the specifics now, they were out in Pennsylvania, and it was at the Newman Invitational. They defeated Keystone, St. Barron, Newman, and Rowan. We don't know anything about those programs, but the fact of the matter is they sweep yet another tournament, which is something they have done throughout the season.
Yeah, to go 16-0 in 4 tournaments is really pretty impressive, especially when you figure that you have no idea what kind of competition you're going to get when you enter the Ripon Red Hawk Invitational or the Newman Invitational. The coaches are gonna set up this tournaments the way they want, and so you don't know what you're going to get. And every challenge that this team has had, they've risen up to, and it's a testament to this team. And we talk a lot about the play of Morgan Thomas, another one who really has just had an outstanding breakout year, even though it seems weird to say it, is Brandy Blattner. She didn't see a lot of court time last year as a freshman. This year she's joined Morgan as all-tournament team 4 times in 4 tournaments, and then was named hitter of the week this past week after what she did at Newman and the St. Olaf match last Wednesday. So Brandy's doing a great job. The freshmen are stepping in the middle and doing a great job. Molly Urban is playing outstanding, and so I think it's a lot of people are kind of stepping up, and those people that maybe were in the sidelines or maybe took a back seat to some of the standouts from last year are stepping up and really blossoming as starters and regulars.
Yeah, well, and just talk a little bit about what Brandy Blattner did this past week, Donnie, to earn that MIAC Hitter of the Week? Again, she was just phenomenal.
Yeah, 80 kills is pretty impressive in 5 matches. Starts with a 20-kill performance against St. Olaf last Wednesday. She has 20 kills against Newman and is just absolutely a dynamite performer. And it's kind of one of those things. You don't want to single a person out, but as she goes, the Cardinals go. And she's just such a dominant offensive player. And, she just continues to improve. Like I said, she didn't necessarily see a lot of time last year as maybe I guess you could call it a role player, but this year she's their go-to player and really is stepping up and kind of thriving in that spotlight of being the go-to person.
Yeah, and then just some of the setters too, the Brittany Hansons, and they're doing a good job making sure that Brandy and Molly and some of the other hitters get those opportunities.
No question, and anytime that you have a hitter who is doing well, there's a reason she's doing well. One, it would be either a defensive specialist or a libero getting the ball to the setter's getting it to the right place, and then the outside or the middle is able to attack from there. So really, anything that Brandy does, as good as Brandy is, she needs help from her teammates. And Brittany Hansen and Lillian Braun have done a phenomenal job as the setting duo for the Cardinals. And Brittany's the veteran and Lillian's the newcomer, and they really seem to mesh well, and both of them seem to be able to run the 6-2 offense very well, and they're really kind of what makes it go. As Mike will say, Coach Lester will say, in volleyball, the first touch is the most important. So on the serve, first touch is a
in the conference right now. St. Mary's obviously not far behind. St. Mary's did lose a tough contest to St. Thomas at home earlier this year, 3-0. So they'd like to go up to Augsburg and play a little bit better in this one.
No question. It's a huge match. Augsburg 6-0 in the conference. St. Mary's 5-1. You're battling for regular season conference bragging rights, and it's going to be an important match. And I think if you would ask Morgan or we'll ask Coach Lester, how important, he would say it's as important as the match will be on, next Friday when they play Bethel. So you have to keep it in perspective. As big as it is, it's one match and one match only. I think when you start talking about winning the regular season conference title, it's a huge match because St. Mary's with a win would be tied with Augsburg at 6-1. If they lose, they're 5-2. Augsburg is 7-0. They've got a 2-game lead. So in that respect, it's a huge match. But when in terms of their number one goal, getting into the conference playoffs, it's not quite the end-all, be-all of matches, but absolutely a huge match, and really one of those I wish was here at St. Mary's because it would be a blast to watch.
Yeah, and it's cushioned a little bit by the fact that we have those 4 remaining home games. I believe they're all conference games remaining.
Exactly, and they are all at home. We play very well at home, so it's the schedule is weird in volleyball in that it's usually either front end loaded with home matches or back end. So this year we get them at the end of the year, and I know that I hope there's people besides me who are really excited to see them come home and watch them play because it's awesome to watch.
Okay, so Morgan Thomas will be on a little bit later, the senior libero for the Cardinals. But first, some other sports to get to. It was the MIAC Conference Championships for both the women's and men's golf team, Donnie. And we'll start with the men. David Eiton performed very well again. Hunter Rao turning in a big performance at the MIAC Championships.
Yeah, it was really good. Every week we've talked a lot about Blair Sanders, and we talked a lot about Brett Jackson, and we talked a lot about Kyle Brote. The two who we didn't necessarily talk a lot about, probably are the most consistent golfers that we had, were Hunter Rao and David Eiton, and it was really nice to see the performances that they put together at the MIAC Championships to lead the way for the Cardinals. You look at David Eiton, he starts with an 81, comes back with a 79 in the second day, and then in the final round, his final round as a Cardinal at the MIAC Championships shoots a 78, which was the Cardinals' lowest score of the tournament. So great to see him do that. And Hunter was just as consistent. He had an 82 the first day and came back with a pair of 79s. So those two really did a nice job of kind of finishing this fall season on a very high note. And hopefully it's a sign of of good things to come for Hunter and for the rest of them as we move forward into the spring season.
It seemed like all of the teams there played pretty consistently. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Cardinals were ninth after the first day, ninth after the second day, and ninth after the third day.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things, we talk all of the time about how good the MIC is in certain sports, and golf is no different. The top to bottom, the golfers in the conference are so talented and so good. I mean, you look at the winning score, and it was par or better, and that's pretty crazy when you think about 50 players, and you got people battling out that are shooting. One of the St. John's guys had a 68, 4 under par, which is a phenomenal score at a course, Bunker Hills, that they really set up to challenge the golfers. And so, I know Coach Moore would have liked to have seen us climb a little bit in the conference standings, but got solid performances up and down the lineup, and I think like I said, Blair maybe didn't play quite as well as he would have liked, and Brett was a little off as well, but you've got these other two, and Hunter and David, who really stepped up and kind of took the reins, which is what you need. You need 5 golfers who any one of them you can just replace them. Move one to 1, 1 to 5, and still get solid performances. And so I think that's where Coach Moore was the most pleased with the weekend.
On the women's side of things, it was, the top 2 all year have been Caitlin Kling and Madison Gately, and that was pretty much true again in the conference championships. Madison Gately turned in a terrific third-round performance, and it was Caitlin Kling the first 2 days taking the lead for the Cardinals.
Yeah, it was a good performance. I think that Coach Moore was happy with the performance overall, and of course, how can you not talk about Caitlin and Madison? They've been the leaders of this team for the last 3 years, and for Madison, it was her last time as a senior here. She played her last MIC championships, and for her to shoot an 86 in the third round was really great to see, and you're happy for her in terms of really kind of going out on a high note. And Caitlin she's been the number 1 golfer for the Cardinals all season, and she continued to do that last weekend at the MIC championships, and she's proven this year. I think this was a great breakout year for her, in that she's proven that she can shoot some low numbers that maybe can get her into some thinking in terms of MIC All Conference, MIC All Tournament team, things like that, because she has the capability. Now it's just a matter of being able to do it on a consistent round by round basis.
Donnie, in men's soccer, they have some home matches coming up against McAllister, and then they'll go to St. Olaf on the 15th. But they're just coming off of a road game. It was at St. Paul against Hamlin. It was an exciting one, and they battled to a 2-overtime, 1-1 tie. So that was they'd like to have gotten a win out of that, but they'll take the tie against a good Hamlin.
Absolutely, and as Coach Watkins will say, anytime you can go on the road and bring home points, it's a positive. And when you look at that game, the fact that we were behind late in the game, got a goal from Sean Butcher to tie it, and so it was nice to see that they got some points for the effort that they had to put in. And I know that Nate Levy had a great game for the Cardinals with 10 saves in that one. Coach Watkins had said he made some big saves to keep him in it. Their goalie made some good saves on some plays that maybe we should have scored on, that maybe could have kept it out of overtime. But anytime you can go up to St. Paul against a very, very good Hamlin team and come away with a tie, I think that he'll take that. He likes where they're at. Heck, they're sitting in tied for second place in the conference standings, and so things are rolling very well for them. And hopefully that'll continue. And if I am not here next Wednesday, it'll be because I froze to death Wednesday night doing the men's game against McAllister.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a bit chilly. Just a minute left here in this segment, Donnie. Women's soccer now on a bit of a losing skid, and they're having trouble generating offense. 3 consecutive matches now where they have failed to score a goal.
Yeah, and the frustrating part is that each game is a 1-goal decision, and that's the hard part is that, as we talked, I know we've talked about it before, I know we talked about it last week, you have to convert your chances. And right now, you look at the McAllister game on Tuesday night, St. Mary's had a couple of very good scoring chances early in the game, weren't able to capitalize. McAllister comes up, gets a break on a very nice play by one of their forwards, and scores in the 23rd minute of that game, and then just kind of holds on. St. Mary's was all over them in the second half and creating some great opportunities, but they just couldn't cash in. And like a lot of sports, if you're a basketball player and you're struggling with your jump shot, it just gets that much harder. And that's where they're at right now. They're struggling to score goals. They start pressing a little bit, and that just makes it that much harder. And I think that, once they get over the hump, they get that first goal, I think that the floodgates will open and they'll kind of break out a little bit.
All right, stay tuned here to the Cardinals Nest. When we come back, we'll bring in Morgan Thomas and put her in the spotlight. She's the senior libero on the volleyball team. We'll do that next here on TV 25.
HBC GigaWorld is fiber optic, which means there's more capacity for more devices. With HBC GigaWorld, your broadband experience gives you unsurpassed capacity, allowing multiple users in your home to surf, shop, game, and stream all at the same time, with no buffering or lag. HBC GigaWorld, with more bandwidth and reliability than any other provider, giving you the best speed and capacity for your GigaHome experience. Visit hbci.com to learn more.
Football night on HBC is back.
When it comes to high school football, no one has you covered like HBC.
Join HBC 25 Sports this fall as we travel to local high school football stadiums to bring you our game of the week.
And now it's brought to you in crystal clear HD.
To see the full schedule of games, log on to hbci.com/sports.
Catch all your local high school football action right here on HBC.
Brought to you by Lewiston Auto.
HBC Sports, your home for high school football.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest. Dean Beckman, Donnie Netto, our sports information director at St. Mary's. And joining us now is Morgan Thomas. Morgan is a volleyball player, a senior from Palos Park, Illinois. And Morgan, you're the libero on the team, so thanks for joining us here on the
Thanks
Cardinals
for having
Nest.
me.
Your first time ever on the Cardinals Nest. You finally made it here your senior
Yeah,
year.
a little nerve-wracking, but
Yeah, that's all
it's
right.
exciting.
You'll do fine, and we'll even start you off with an easy question today. And that is, tell us a little bit about Palos Park, Illinois, and how you got your start in volleyball, and then how you ended up coming to St. Mary's. A little bit about the recruitment process and your choosing St. Mary's as the school.
Well, Palos Park is a sleepy town in the suburbs of Chicago. Everyone pretty much has a bit of land. We have 7 acres, and it's a very nice community. I started playing volleyball when I was walking. My mom coached. I was the kid in the stroller on the sidelines as she was giving instructions and stuff like that.
She coached high school or?
Mainly it was my older sister. She coached 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. She's actually now coaching 4th grade for my littlest sister, Ava. And I started playing travel when I was 12. My 17s coach, when we really started to get through recruiting, her husband played basketball here. So when she heard that I was getting recruited by St. Mary's, she was like, you really need to go and look into this school. And bottom line, it came down to when I came to visit, it was beautiful here. I loved the campus. I liked the small school feel. The coaches made me feel really comfortable, and the girls were awesome. So
and tell us a little bit about your major, too. You're majoring in biology and maybe even have some possible graduate school plans afterwards?
Yeah, so I picked biology because that was what I was good at in high school. I've always liked helping people. Health has always been something that I've been interested in. I'm considering going to grad school and trying to get into chiropractic school, so hopefully that works out.
All right, good.
Now we get to hit the court, right? Is that how we do it now?
now
You served up the easy one, and now we're going to get to the hard one?
gosh.
Unintended. So Morgan, talk a little bit about the year. I mean, obviously you guys are phenomenal, 5-1 in the conference, 21-2 overall. As the veteran, as the senior, did you expect this type of year, especially with what you guys lost last year?
To be honest, I really didn't. I was really surprised. Coming into preseason, everyone's going to work hard. I was pleasantly surprised to see that we brought in a lot of really good freshmen, and we had a very deep bench to begin with, and it was so awesome to go in and see these people that really never got to see the court come in and really step up and take their role and grow into the players that they are today. So to begin, I really didn't have an expectation for this season, but it was clear after the first couple of days of preseason that it was going to be fun and competitive.
Well, you mentioned roles, and really two-part question, because your role has changed in more ways than one. Your first 3 years you were a defensive specialist here. Now you're the libero, but also you're the senior, so you're the leader both on and off the court. Talk about that one first, stepping into that role more as maybe the vocal leader or this, however you want to call it, but you are looked upon as one of the leaders of this team now.
Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest changes that came about, and it really started in the spring of last year when, our seniors left us and I became a senior. That was a shock. But I knew that I had some pretty big shoes to fill, and it really started with figuring out, okay, who's going to step up during spring season, spring workouts and stuff like that. And I have been a captain before, so I knew what it took, and so it was just kind of like switching my mindset of, okay, now I need to be a leader, I need to control myself and really set an example for everyone.
And now let's talk about you positionally, because your first 3 years you were the defensive specialist. This year you're the libero. A big adjustment for you or not so much?
No, essentially we're doing just about the same thing, but you're just playing a little bit more, so I like that.
And let's talk a little bit about that for those that don't understand, because you had to explain it to me off camera.
Yeah.
The difference between the defensive specialist and a libero.
A defensive specialist, you have to sub out. You only play defense for one of the front row players. And a libero is someone who goes in for 6 rotations. You don't count as a sub. You run in essentially for any of the back row players at any time.
And the libero position has obviously suited you well because you were named MIAC Libero of the Week this past week, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And your thoughts on, I know that's not necessarily a goal, but that had to be nice to get that recognition, and certainly your quality of play has made that somewhat inevitable as the season has gone along here.
Yeah, it was very humbling. I had no idea. I was shocked. It was something that you go into the gym and you work hard every day, and it's nice to get some type of recognition for the hard work that you're putting in.
And that's an award that Lex Krogstad has won before. What did you learn from her when she was playing that position before she graduated?
She was a great role model to look up to and to play with, and just her work ethic was incredible. And to be able to look at her and step in the gym and say, okay, this is a person that I want to be like. And it was probably one of the best experiences I've had with a teammate.
Can you talk a little bit about last weekend? You went to Newman, finished 4-0 for the 4th time this year.
Yeah.
You guys finished 4-0, but talk a little bit about the trip itself. When a team goes on a trip, it's a great bonding experience. From your standpoint, what was the trip like going out east?
It was really fun. We don't really travel much. In my family, there's 6 of us, so it's kind of hard to get around. But traveling was fun. We had a whole night in the airport, so there was a lot of team bonding. A couple girls were sleeping. There was others trying to learn a dance, and people doing homework. But it was really fun. The East Coast it's nice. It kind of rained a little bit, but we made it fun.
Good. What would you attribute the success of your tournaments to this year? I mean, you undefeated in basically every tournament you've been in. If you could just, take that and bring that to the MIAC postseason tournament, right? So what's been the reason for that success?
I think it's an example of our hard work in practice, and every day we kind of made it a point to say one of our goals is to always get better, no matter if it's a game or practice. And I think it's really interesting that we get to go and play all these different teams outside of the MIAC, and the MIAC is filled with very competitive teams. So I think going out of the MIAC is kind of like a nice fresh breath of air, because you get to see some teams that don't necessarily play the same. So it kind of prepares us for those MIAC games where it's like there's some sections of points where it's like, okay, this is like how we've played in a tournament before.
Well, and you're getting one of those very competitive teams Wednesday night when you take on Augsburg. Tell us about your mindset as you head up to Augsburg and face the #1 team right now in the conference.
Well, I think most of it is just to go out and play our game. We've had a really good practice so far this week, and we don't do anything super flashy. We play very good defense. We have a solid offense, and I think if we go in and we pass well and we get those first ball contacts well, I think it'll be a very good match.
You know, we've talked a lot about the players, the athletes who make this team so good. Talk a little bit about what Coach Lester brings to this team. He's obviously had a lot of success over the years, a couple of NCAA tournaments. This year, 21-2, best start ever in program history. I'm sure he's got to get some of the credit for that as well.
Oh yeah, he is extremely supportive, and he is very knowledgeable of the game with all of his experience that he has. And it's a little different because he's more of an offensive person and offensive-minded, but he's always 100% behind you and supportive in practice and in games, and he really pushes us to work hard. And he holds us to a standard that he believes that we can meet, and he keeps it there all year and sometimes hires it, which is nice.
You know, as I look at the stats here, Morgan, your serving stats really stand out, really second on the team in serving. You have 32 service aces on the year. So is that a part of your game that you've really worked hard to try to improve?
Yeah, I've always, serving to me has always been, well, as a libero or a DS, it's the only way that you could really score points. So I've really focused on trying to really improve my serve in order to help my team out more than just passing a good ball. And my freshman year, I had 41 aces, and I have yet to beat that. So that was kind of a personal goal this year.
And don't sell yourself too short on points. You've got 5 kills on the year.
Yeah.
And now don't forget, you know, she hasn't passed that, but she did accomplish something last weekend that hasn't been accomplished since 2005, and that is 7 aces in a match. Talk a little bit about that, because that's pretty crazy when you think about 7 aces in a 25-point match.
Yeah, that was incredible. I went back, first couple balls, Jackie would give me the positions to go to, and after the first couple, I was like, oh, okay, like I'm feeling my serve, like this is good, and we just kept rolling, and she kept giving me different positions, and it was kind of fun because they didn't, honestly, had no idea where I was going to go with the ball.
Do you ever shake them off like a pitcher does? Do you ever shake Jackie off? No, I'm not going there. I'm going to go here.
No, no. I'll give her a nod, but I'll usually serve to where she goes.
So, all right, Morgan Thomas from the volleyball team, thanks for joining us today.
Thank
Good
you.
luck against Augsburg and the rest of the season here. It's been exciting,
you.
and we look forward to it continuing. So.
Thanks for having me.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back here on the Cardinals Nest to wrap things up on HBC.
Football night on HBC is back.
When it comes to high school football, no one has you covered like HBC.
Join HBC 25 Sports this fall as we travel to local high school football stadiums to bring you our game of the week.
And now it's brought to you in crystal clear HD.
To see the full schedule of games, log on to hbci.com/sports.
Catch all your local high school football action right here on HBC.
Brought to you by Lewiston Auto.
HBC Sports, your home for high school football.
Turn your friends into GigaFriends with HBC and earn up to $50 on each qualifying referral.
Up to $50.
That's right.
More input, please.
When HBC customers refer their friends to sign up for HBC services, they can earn up to $50. If they get 2 friends to sign up for services,
That would be $100.
That's right. Pretty quick with the math there.
Affirmative. We are robots. Math is kind of our thing.
Never would have guessed.
Grab some GigaFriends and start saving today.
And we're back to wrap things up on this week's Cardinals Nest. And Donnie, it's been a little while since cross country has been in action, but they'll be down in La Crosse this weekend.
Yeah, big meet, the Jim Drews, Tori Neubauer Invitational this weekend. A lot of teams, should be a great test for them as they get ready for the MIC Championships, which is in 2 weeks. So it's a very important meet for Coach Barrington. We'll have him on next week so we can talk about that. So it'll be a good chance to review this and preview the MIC Championships.
Right. That'll be what we'll do with Coach Ward Barrett from the cross-country team. That's going to do it for this week's Cardinals Nest. Glad that you could join us, and be sure to tune in again for another Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25.